Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a lovely 2014 model year launch from Harry Winston. This is the Midnight Moonphase Automatic. Harry Winston is a low-volume brand better associated with gems and jewelry, but the watches made from the Midnight collection up to the Opus series are worthy. The timepiece here, 42.5 millimeters in red gold, only 10.9 millimeters thick, and 51.2 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So this is a dress watch, but it's no shrinking violet. It has quite a bit of presence, and it's best suited to a wrist no smaller than mine. So my wrist is 16 centimeters circumference, and I'm going to say that you should probably have a wrist my size or larger in order to wear this well. That said, at under 11 millimeters thick, it really does sit low and slim, and there's all sorts of compatibility with jacket sleeves, shirt cuffs, even dress shirts are going to have no trouble riding up and over this watch. One look from over the top, one down the barrel, and then one cuff shot. The strap is upscale, and it is a sort of gray blue. I describe it as slate in color. It's a matte finish. It's got a lot of thick bolstering internally to give it volume and body. There's that monotone stitch in a sort of slate blue to match with a folded edge, calfskin on the bottom. There's no crimping, no gouging. You can see this is a brand new Harry Winston factory strap with a matching Harry Winston pin buckle. You can see that the Harry Winston logo is a combination of polish and media blasting, and then there is no shortage of branding on this Harry Winston buckle. Rolling over the case, you can see there's a good deal of nuance. We have several small steps separating the case band from the conical profile of the bezel, and it breaks up the sheer of the case, making the watch look even thinner than it is. Harry Winston designers have articulated the lugs with fluting outboard and inboard. They're relatively short. They jut out from the case profile, so they have an angular presence of their own. They're not blended in Calatrava style. We have a Harry Winston branded and dramatically knurled crown. You can see there's directional knurling on this, a little bit like a buzzsaw. We have the Harry Winston arch motif on the flank to remind you of Harry Winston's ancestral New York flagship store that has an arch over its main entrance using a similar motif to the case band. We also have a dial with lots of details. You can see there's a sort of little slate-colored satinated plinth on which a retrograde date sits with a wonderfully serify font. How much do you love those open nines? And then you can see that it has a little polishing around its edge. It's got a red gold tinge to it. It has height above the dial and sharp individual facets. You can also see that there's a sunburst pattern that sits underneath the moon phase display. We have a moon phase that is covered by a sapphire crystal to give it a little bit of a luminous ethic, and then you can see that there is a brilliant cut diamond at the bottom to remind you that the moon phase is the namesake of this model. This is the Midnight Moonphase Automatic, and so that's the keystone for the whole dial. Now we have a somewhat asymmetrical, elliptical, Harry Winston hour and minute track. Inboard, there's a concentric pattern. Outboard, you have a sort of sunburst grain, and then lovely little applique indices and numerals with the Harry Winston logo up at 12 o'clock. And I guess the hour and minute hand could best be described as leaf style. Now the watch has a number of subsidiary functions. We'll talk about some of those, but you can see the hands in action. And then there is a quick set for the retrograde date, which is lots of fun to play with. Taking a quick look, you can see the detail of the moon phase. The disc on which the moon sits has a charcoal-like pattern, a slate-like chiseling, and that was the intent of the designers. Flipping it all over, you can see it is Frédéric Piguet-based. We know that because this is a Swatch Group brand, and if we look very closely, we can see the Frédéric Piguet logo on the base plate. But you can also see that they've done some unconventional things in order to disguise the disparity between case size and movement size, because this is based on the Frédéric Piguet 1150 architecture. There is a chaptering outboard in rose gold that is quite attractive. It's a combination of satination and then machine engraving, Midnight Swiss made. quite fetching. The rotor is skeletonized, the better to block as little of the movement as possible, and you can see it's been black polished on its top. There's solarization on the bearing at center, and then all of the screw heads are black polished with chamfered slots. There's an attractive anglage on the bridges, and you can really see that the same treatment has been applied to the edge of the rotor. It's quite handsome, likely started with mechanical means but finished manually. That's how they get that final rounded mirrored shine. And then we have these sort of ripple emanating circular coatage. Now you can see they sort of originate at an imaginary center point over the balance, and then they swell as you move away from the balance. Now, all of the wheels are satinated. The barrels are solarized, which is dramatic and attractive. We have engine turning, perlage that is, on the base plate. Technically speaking, it's an automatic winding twin barrel movement with a 68-hour power reserve, and you can see that it features a free-sprung architecture as well as an anti-magnetic silicone hairspring. The free-sprung architecture allows it to be adjusted precisely in 6 positions, not the chronometer standard of 5, so this watch is designed to run very precisely. And again, the free-sprung architecture giving it just a little bit more shock tolerance. You can see the recessed bolt balance designed to minimize as much as possible the effective aerodynamic drag on the balance. All of this pivots on 28 joules, and with a twin barrel layout, this Harry Winston 3202 movement, again, it's a Frédéric Piguet, but we're going to play along. It has 2 barrels, so you don't have the big drop-off in balance amplitude that can occur with a single barrel movement after 24, 36, or 48 hours. That's the real advantage of 2 barrels. Not just a longer power reserve, but more even torque release and better overall timekeeping. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details, because I know someone's going to ask, water resistance is 30 meters.